it would be if the lake water could be channeled to the village. But she saw that the lake was surrounded by big mountains, forests, and rocks. But in one place, there was a stone gate, a gate made out of stone. As she stood there looking at the stone gate, a goose came and said to her, "See, girl, you need a golden key to open the lake." But before she can say anything, the goose was gone. But as she began to walk, she ran into 3 parrots. When she asked the parrots, where could I find the golden key? The parrots answered, "See, girl, first you have to find the 3rd daughter of the king." As she began to walk, she saw a peacock and asked him, "Where can I find the king's 3rd daughter?" The peacock said, "See, girl, the 3rd daughter loves songs," just like the one I was going to sing my wife. "If you sing songs, she will come forth." So Sea Girl began to sing songs. On the 3rd day, the 3rd daughter heard the songs of the Sea Girl and came out of the water. Then the 3rd daughter told her the secret. The golden key is in the treasury of the king. So the Sea Girl went to the treasury. The room was filled with gold and jewels, but she thought only of the golden key. As she entered the treasury, she found the golden key. So she went to the lake and knocked 3 times on the stone gate. It opened, and the water streamed out into the village. In this story, we've seen that between the clear waters of the lake and the thirsty people of Polo stood a stone gate that would not open. The only thing that could open the stone gate was a golden key. And as we look, we see that there are stone gates everywhere. We humans are great stone builders. Throughout history, people have built stone gates around their castles, their nations, and even in front of their places of worship. All we need to do is look at the Great Wall of China and the Temple of Jerusalem in the time of Jesus. We built stone walls on our national borders and reinforced them with custom officials and dogs. We built stone gates around our houses with alarms to protect us from intruders. We even built up warning signs saying, "Beware of dogs." And whenever we run into a stone gate or warning sign, we shrink back, we become tense. We even built stone walls between our spouses, between our brothers, and between our sisters. We build stone walls so others won't penetrate our true feelings, our hurts, our shattered dreams and hopes. Stone walls separates us from others. And unless we have that golden key, unless we find the 3rd daughter of the king who loves to hear the love songs and know where the golden key is, the stone walls will refuse to open. That's why many times our marriage is falling apart. Our relationship with others are not as the way they're supposed to be. We build stone walls of fear, insecurity, suspicion, and misunderstanding. And even though these stone walls that we built are strong and solid, they can be penetrated. Those stone walls that guard our nation can be penetrated by those seeking a better future. Those stone walls of prejudice and discrimination can also be torn down. Jesus has taught us that those stone walls that destroy human relationships can be broken down. But there was one stone wall that proved to be unbreakable, even even Jesus couldn't break or tear down. And that stone wall that Jesus couldn't penetrate was built in the name of a religious faith, the religion and the faith of the Pharisees. The wall that the Pharisees built was built on a faith that distinguishes itself from all other faiths, a faith that separates itself from all others' faith and other people. It was a faith that was cemented with laws and doctrines that even Jesus couldn't penetrate. The faith of the Pharisees had been wrapped up in centuries of tradition, It had been decorated with customs and practices that have grown around their faith. And when a faith, such as the Pharisees had, is wrapped up with divine authority, that stone wall becomes unbreakable. And even a church that teaches that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life can get so wrapped up with petty doctrines that we build walls like the Pharisees did against each other in the church and outside of the church. The reason these stone walls are built is because many of us can only breathe the spiritual air purified by our own doctrine. In other words, if it doesn't smell like my doctrine, get it out of here. Because it has to be heresy. Many of us feed on the spiritual food prepared in our theological kitchen. In other words, if it doesn't taste like my doctrine, crucify it. And when this happens, we become sensitive and succumb to a spiritual allergy. And our nose becomes stuffed, and we can't smell the fragrance of truth coming out of the hearts and minds of others. Our petty doctrines make our eyes watery, and we fail to see the beauty that the hearts of others who also love God can display and share. All we could hear is our loud sneeze that preaches what we believe but shuts out every other melody that is in the depths of another person's heart. Jesus could penetrate a woman's heart that only man can satisfy her deepest needs. And as that Samaritan woman at the well, Jesus could penetrate the heart of a publican, as Zacchaeus, a traitor who turned his back on his nation in order to live in luxury. Jesus could penetrate a sinful heart as that woman who began to wet the feet of Jesus with her tears, kiss his feet, and wipe his feet with her hair. Jesus could penetrate the heart of a foreigner, such as that Greek woman in Mark 7:24, who all her life worshiped other gods and who the Jews considered as dogs. Jesus could even penetrate the heart of a man tormented by a demon, as in Mark 5. And Jesus can even penetrate the heart of a man called Saul, who persecuted the church and became the greatest apostle of the church. Jesus could penetrate the heart of prostitutes, of women and men who are tormented by demons. Jesus could penetrate the hearts of dope addicts, of murderers, of alcoholics, but he could not penetrate the heart of many Pharisees, who, because of their pride and insecurities, like many of us who want to hold on to our petty prestige and position in the church, felt threatened by others who had more wisdom and understanding. The stone wall of religion, this is what Jesus had to fight against from time to time. Jesus fought hard to break open those stone gates that people had put up. For example, there was a Samaritan woman in John 4, tired and thirsty. Jesus asked the Samaritan woman for a drink. We could hear the woman say to Jesus, "What, you, a Jew, ask a drink from me, a Samaritan woman?" And in 4:27, the disciples were astonished to find Jesus talking to a woman. In this story, the disciples were shocked that Jesus was talking to a woman. Their thought was how Jesus could be so free with a woman. But for the Samaritan woman, it was not that Jesus talked to the woman's side of her, but that Jesus talked to her knowing that she was a Samaritan in 4 verse 9. She was shocked. Jesus, being a Jew, would talk to a Samaritan. In fact, according to verse 18, she must have been a loose woman and would have thought nothing or even welcomed being approached by a man, even in a lonely place. What concerns her more is her religion and all that went with it. Jews and Samaritans, hatred between them flowed in their veins. For the Jews, it was Jerusalem that worship must take place. For the Samaritans, it was their sacred mountain that worship should take place. This is her religion. This is her way of life. So how can a Samaritan give a Jew a drink of water? She believed that to stick to stick to my religious laws and hold on to my religious conviction is more important than giving this thirsty Jew a drink of water, an enemy of my religion and of my people. We see the same thing in the story of the Good Samaritan. In this story, the wounded man must have been a Jew, since it's no big deal for a Samaritan to help another Samaritan. But in this story, it was the religious authorities, a Jewish priest and a Jewish Levi, that passed by. In this story, it gives us a picture of a distorted Jewish religion, and that is that religion was not made for people, but the people are made for religion. They had it backwards. We could ask the question, why did Jesus go out of his way to offend the sensitivity of religious authorities? The reason is very simple. A stone gate had been standing between Jews and Samaritans for a long time. For doctrinal reasons and because of religious convictions, Jews and Samaritans will have nothing to do with each other. Sounds like many of us. Although they both profess to have everything to do with God. But isn't this the opposite of what both groups profess? Isn't this the betrayal of God's love? Jesus had grown impatient with the stone gate of separation and discrimination. Jesus knew that this stone gate had to be broken down. That's why the person who puts into practice God's love on that wounded Jew had to be a Samaritan. And this battle to break down these stone gates still rage on. As soon as one stone gate is demolished, a new one is raised. As Christians, we are quick to build stone gates on the ruins of old ones. And just as Jews and Samaritans have built stone gates of doctrines that separate them, we as Christians have built stone gates of doctrines that separate us from other churches. Doctrines that separate us, even our own church. We build stone gates of doctrines that separate us from Buddhists, Hindus, and Muslims. But don't take me wrong. I know who the truth, the way, and the life is. I know that Jesus is my Savior and my God that died for my sins. But what I am saying is the stone gate of separation that Jesus demolishes, we raise up. Let me ask, would Jesus give a hungry Buddhist monk a bowl of rice, or a hungry Muslim some bread, and even eat with them? Jesus, who asked a Samaritan woman for a drink of water, or would he let doctrinal issues stop him from responding? In the beginning, I told a story of Sea Girl, and that in her village there was a drought. But as she went up the mountain, she discovered a lake full of water. She said to herself how wonderful it would be if she could channel that water to her village. But she saw that the lake had a stone gate. Then a goose came and said, "See, girl, you need a golden key to open up the Wild Goose Lake." But in order to get the golden key, she must first find the third daughter of Dragon King, who ruled Wild Goose Lake. But why the third daughter of the king, and not the first daughter or the fourth daughter? The answer came from a peacock. The third daughter loved songs, just like Eric loves songs. So Sea Girl sang all the songs she learned as a child. She sang all the songs of the people. And to her joy, the third daughter of the king came out of Goose Lake. Now listen carefully. In most Christian and in most people in other religion, there lives a kind-hearted third daughter who is willing to help. But normally, she is neither seen nor heard because religious minds and hearts have laid down laws and traditions that have kept her hidden and locked up behind the stone gate of one's heart. We have shackled her and have kept her in a religious confinement. Throughout the ages, every religious mind and hearts have laid down laws and traditions that have kept her hidden and locked up behind the stone gates of one's heart. Throughout the ages, every religion, including Christianity, has separated themselves from other religions. And this separation is done in the name of God, in the name of Buddha, in the name of Confucius, in the name of Hinduism and in the name of Jesus. The dividing wall that Jesus tore down that separates Jews and Gentiles, we continue to build in the name of God. Many times we have tried to understand each other's religion of faith only to conclude that Buddhism is atheistic, Confucianism is humanistic, and that Christianity is exclusivistic, and it's made up of intolerant believers. So at the end, we all return to our religious camps with dividing walls still intact. And the third daughter who holds the key to open the stone gate is nowhere to be found. Christianity and other religions have tried to fellowship by visiting each other's churches. But after we go back, after we go back to our own churches, we don't remember meeting each other. And again, the third daughter is nowhere to be found. And just because I'm speaking in the context of religion as a whole, this division also is seen in individuals in the same churches. Our petty, shallow theological beliefs separate us from each other. So what has gone wrong? Why have we not touched the hearts of each other? The problem is, I believe, that even in our ignorance, we have become too intellectual. Instead of Christianity being in the heart, it is in the brain. And when Christianity is all brain, it spares no ammunition in their theological arsenal to attack what others believe. And when this happens, they have frightened the third daughter, who holds a golden key that can only open the stone gate of religion. At this point, let us listen to the wisdom of the peacock in this story. The peacock reveals to Sea Girl that only the songs of the people could bring the third daughter out of the gate. The songs of the people. Theologians who understand Christianity can read the minds of great thinkers. But when it comes to reading the minds of the people, of ordinary people in the streets, of simple men and women carrying the burdens of life and death, either to church or some Buddhist temple or some Muslim mosque, theologians and us seem to be lost for words. The reason for this is because our shallow theological ear is not tuned to the melodies of the people. But in our story, it was only these melodies and songs that can lead to the golden key that opens the stone gate of religion. And when the air is polluted with the stone gate of religion, everyone is polluted. It's polluted, since we all breathe the same air. When people sing, they sing from their heart, not from their head. Songs flow from the souls of people. When people sing, we sing for the whole world to sing with us. We rejoice to rejoice with us and to even weep with us. Songs are the key that opens the stone gate of religion and lets the fresh air of God breathe on us. Songs are the voice of the people longing to find meaning, strength, and assurance that goes beyond this ordinary world we live in. It is the songs, stories, and dreams of people that lead us to the heart, where we could find the golden key to open the stone gate and find Jesus. Ordinary people are different from theologians with all their theological concepts. Ordinary people understand their faith by the songs they sing, by the stories they hear, and the dreams they have. People understand their faith in relationship to the necessities God provides, such as food, water, work, not some theological concept that we can't understand. That's why we thank God when He satisfies our hunger by providing potatoes, beans, tortillas, breads, bacons on our table, because that's what we understand. What we need in our theology is not more theological mumbo jumbo, but more gumbo. What we need in our theology is more potatoes, more beans, more rice, more tortillas, bacon, and songs. We need concept that we could relate to. Basic necessities are things that people can relate to. Songs are endless. They are so down to earth, yet they point high to heaven. Songs move the heart of God, while at the same time touching our soul. In this story, the peacock was right. Simple songs of the people had power over the third daughter, who had the golden key to open the stone gate. But hidden away in Wild Goose Lake. At the end of the story, sea girls sang and got the golden key to open the stone gate. This story tells us that we need to listen more to songs of the people, to hear more stories of people, to see more dreams of people. And when we listen, hear, and see the dreams and the songs and stories of people, then we will understand our own heart and our own desires. The golden key to open any stone gate is not found in doctrinal traditions. It is found in the hearts of people who suffer, who love and hate, who hope and who despair. And let me finish by going back to the Samaritan woman at the well. Jesus knew how to reach hearts. In his conversation with the Samaritan woman, Jesus didn't talk to her about the great history shared by both Jews and Samaritans. Jesus didn't even talk to her about the tragic division between the Jews and the Samaritans. It was a woman who tried to talk to Jesus about the history and traditions of both Jews and Samaritans in 4:19. In 4:19, 20, and 20, when she says, "Our ancestors worship on the mountain, but you say that the place where people must worship is in Jerusalem." In these verses, the woman was right about the history of both religions. She went to Veti. She was right, and that's where the problem is. When Christians begin to talk about their theology, what they believe, they are always right. They are right about their teachings and traditions. They are right about God's will for the world. They are right about how God is to be worshiped. And they're always right about how others have gone wrong. And when we think that we are always right, we hold God captive with our rightness. And we can't imagine what God would look like out of our rightness. But Jesus' response to the woman was, never mind about all that. Let history rest in peace. Let bygones be bygones. In 4:21, Jesus said something the woman never heard before. It says, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will worship the Father, neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem." To a Jew and a Samaritan, this statement would be blasphemy. But for Jesus, the most important thing was neither the sacred mountain of the Samaritans nor the holy temple in Jerusalem. What was more important to Jesus was the woman in front of him, the woman who was behind her correct faith and loyalty to her religion was hiding behind a troubled heart, a restless soul, and a morally and spiritually distorted life. Jesus knew that what the woman needed was not more religion. She had plenty of that. Jesus knew that the only thing that they had in common and that they could share was water. She came to the well to get water, and Jesus was thirsty. The water from the well she could share with Jesus, and the water of eternal life Jesus could share with her. Since the woman was a Samaritan and Jesus a Jew, there was nothing in their religion they could share. A stone gate of theology and religion kept them apart. But water they could share. Water they must share. Water nourishes them. Water quenches their thirst. Water is a common substance necessary for life. The Samaritan woman must drink it, and Jesus also must drink it. In order to live, to hope, love, to believe, everybody must drink water. What can be more common than water? Water is life. Water is hope. Water is love. In water we hear the songs of the people and stories of people. In water we dream the dreams of the people. In his conversation with the Samaritan woman, Jesus spoke of a deep and profound theology and a simple substance such as water. In this simple thing we take for granted, such as water, such as the lilies of the field and the birds in the air, Jesus could create a profound theology beyond our shallow theology. There is a theology in water because water has life. In 4:14, we read that Jesus takes the conversation of water a little further. It says, "But those who drink of the water that I will give them will never thirst. The water that I would give will become in them a spring of water gushing to eternal life." Jesus knew that doctrines and traditions only divide people, but he also knew that water unites them. Thirst and hunger always unites people. That's why Jesus formed this theology out of the most common thing people need. This is the theology of Jesus. And the theology of Jesus enables Jesus to do what the theology of the Jewish leaders could never have done. Jesus was able to unite and create a bond between a woman who was a Samaritan and Jesus who was a Jew. And it was only then, when the bond was created, that both can begin to talk about eternal life, talk about salvation, talk about Christ, and talk about God. This is the kind of theology we need. The theology of Jesus is the golden key to open the stone gate of religion that many of us are stuck in. This simple but profound theology that Jesus creates is out of a common substance such as water. Will enable us to see the beauty as well as the ugliness, the goodness as well as the evil, and the truth as well as the falsehood of us as Christians, as well as people of other beliefs. What was important to Jesus in this story of the Samaritan woman was not doctrine or tradition, but the power of God's salvation that can give life to every human being at all times and in all places, to live, hope, and love. Without the third daughter that loved songs, and without the living waters that Jesus spoke about, every religion, including Christianity, is nothing. So with that, I just want to ask you to ponder that in your heart. Is there any stone gates in our hearts? I know that there was many in mine that I had to break down. And many times I still have to break them down between brothers, between different people, because as human beings, it seems like petty things get on our way that would destroy a friendship, a relationship with one another. So we have to guard ourselves and always ask ourselves, is there a stone gate? Are there stone gates in my heart that need to be torn down? With that, I'm going to ask Pastor Toby to come up and give whatever he needs to do.